Hello warriors! In this video I will talk about a really common dynamic in dysfunctional families where one kid is the golden child, the one that can do no wrong, and the other one is the scapegoat, the one that is to blame for every fucked up scenario that arises. I will explain why this is, how it's put into place, and I will give examples, practical examples, from my dysfunctional family. Narcissistically abusive families are fucked up, and some of their tactics are so fucked up that they're hard to explain and sometimes even believe to the outside world. As I say in my video, why do narcissists get away with it? People want to believe in a fair world, in a predictable world, where they can expect what is going to happen, where they want to believe that everything is going to be okay. So sometimes we victims of narcissistic abuse feel isolated. Not sometimes, oftentimes, when we try to explain that we were abused by our own family, that there's this thing called scapegoating and our own family did it to us. Sometimes normal people might think we're exaggerating because they can't even conceive that this is possible. Hopefully this video will make you feel less isolated and more validated, because actually scapegoating is really common. This thing that happened to you or this thing that you're trying to understand is the norm in families that don't function well. How did this happen? Well, in my case, I was the first child of two people who, to put it very nicely, didn't know how to deal with their own shit. When I was 1 year old, legend has it that my father tried to divorce my mother because things weren't going well, they were fighting all the time, and my grandparents forbid them to do so. What? This is the perfect breeding ground for this dynamic. Two people who don't know how to deal with their own shit, and instead of dealing with their issues or even divorcing, decide to project them into innocent bystanders, aka children, innocent children. And then came me and my brother. I was the oldest one, and soon it was established that I was the scapegoat and my brother was the golden child. Why does this happen? Well, when we're the scapegoat, we tend to believe that it was our fault, right? Even if unconsciously, that there's something wrong with us. Otherwise, why wouldn't our parents love us? That's what we believe as children, and internally this belief continues when we grow older. Even though we know it's irrational, it's still here. Actually, scapegoating, it has nothing to do with you, it has everything to do with the abuser. He's the fucked up one for establishing this dynamic and not wanting to deal with his own shit, and especially with an innocent child as a victim. It's a coward and disgusting thing to do. The reason is that dealing with your own issues in general is hard. It implies that you made mistakes, that you're far from perfect, and that you have to make changes. And of course, this goes against the basis of narcissists, right? Narcissists believe they're perfect, they don't have to change, and it's everyone's fault that they have problems, or all the problems that happen in their lives are everyone else's fault. They are perfect, and they prefer to blame everyone else. So why were you the chosen one? Why were you the chosen one if you were the scapegoat and not your brothers or your sisters? In the Bible, a goat was sent into the wilderness after the Jewish chief priests had symbolically laid the sins of the people upon it. In the modern ages, every family has their own specific reasons for avoiding dealing with their own shit. We don't own goats anymore, so children have to be used. Normally, the scapegoat is the more fragile and the more sensitive one. In my case, for example, when I was 5 years old, it was discovered that I had extreme myopia. I really cannot see shit in front of me without my glasses, which are really, really thick, or contact lenses, which I'm wearing now and I wear most of the time. And this drove my mother crazy because, as a good narcissist, she was all about the image. She would, for example, brush my teeth to the point that they would bleed because she said they were too yellow. So when it was discovered that I had to wear really thick glasses, that really drove her up the wall. And I remember her testing my eyesight, like asking me, what do you see there? What do you see there? What do you see there? And exclaiming in desperation, but you don't see anything. Now I see how fucked up, how selfish, and how abusive this is. But of course, as a child, I didn't see it. So yeah, narcissists love to use their children as projections to the outside world, to show the outside world how great they are. And it was starting to become apparent that I wouldn't be a good golden child, because that was the first reason, I guess. Wearing really strong glasses is not according to the plan. It was really not according to the plan that my mother had of having this perfect and really good looking kid that could shine in her place. I was also, and that made matters worse, I was also very shy and very quiet. And being that she wanted me to shine in social settings, like she would take me to these dinners and I wouldn't speak, I would just read my book quietly in the corner, that didn't come off as very handy. As for sensitivity, I was also very calm, very quiet and creative. I would spend hours just drawing and reading and playing by myself. And I was also very empathetic. So that made me a really, really, really good scapegoat. I was also artistic and different. So as a teen, I never hung out with the cool kids. And my brother did. I will make another video on the golden child after this one. So not hanging out with people that she perceived as cool, that really, really also was, I don't know, minus like 35 points for me. Because narcissists always love to associate themselves with people that they perceive as high value, and normally those are not very deep values. Normally those are superficial values, like the cool people, the popular people, rich people, good looking people, etc. So I didn't have any of that when I was younger. Yeah, so when my brother was born, this is when also, this is also a big part of the dynamic. When my brother was born, a thing that I started to hear immediately when he was really small was that I was jealous of him, when I really wasn't, actually. This is when they started plotting us against each other. This is a big part of the scapegoating tactic. Dysfunctional families don't want to be called on their bullshit. Otherwise, the whole basis of abuse would crumble. So they use the divide and conquer tactic. It's an old tactic. It works. It's called also triangulation. And this is why, yeah, golden children and scapegoats, they rarely are friends. I would say 90%, 99% of the cases they aren't. I know of one person who is friends with her sister, and she was the golden child, but normally scapegoats and golden children, they rarely grow up to become friends, unfortunately. So I became the scapegoat, and my brother became the golden child. And the golden child is the one that parents can present as the trophy kid. So the one that represents the perfect image that the dysfunctional family wants to project to the outside world. In the next video, I will explain how exactly this one became the golden child, what made my brother the golden child, and how the dynamic was established in my case and consolidated throughout the years. Happy healings, and if you have any questions, don't forget to put them on the comments below or email me in this email here.